Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Casual Fanatic. Today's episode doesn't fit into like the rest of the kind of the content I'm trying to make on the channel, but it's just a video I wanted to make. I want to get giddy about my team. I want to be happy, and the title of the video will be something along those lines. Let's just be happy as United fans. And right now, this is a great time to be a United fan. As you can see, I'm definitely happy, proud, and everything. This is from the scarf of the Europa League game, Barcelona United. I was there at the game, Camp Nou. Atmosphere incredible. I have to respect that club. It's football heritage. Barcelona, what a team, what a club, what a group of set of fans. The United fans were loud though. We took over the Camp Nou. You could definitely feel the presence. They had to stop the fans afterwards. They had to make sure the extra security checks and everything. It was loud. It was rambunctious. It was a great atmosphere. Going into that, what did we see? We saw United get robbed of a win at the Camp Nou, which would have been our first ever win at the Camp Nou. But that shows you where this team has gone. Just last year, you're talking about a team that you don't see anything in the next decade. There were genuine arguments. Will United win a trophy in the next decade? Will they ever win the Prem again? Because with the emergence of other clubs with more and more money, with the terrible ownership we've had, where do you see the light? Who would have known the light was simply getting the right managerial appointment? And when you start to look back at it, David Moyes, he was always going to bite the bullet. It was never the right appointment for the... You're talking about the largest club in England and probably I would say top 3, top 5 club in the world. This is difficult to just bring in a manager that has no experience on that level, no European experience. So he was always destined to fail. Van Gaal was past it. The tactics weren't up to date. The way he tried to employ was not suited to the Premier League, and he didn't have the player profiles to play that kind of football that he wanted to. So another one that had to bite the bullet. You had Jose Mourinho. There were some ups, probably the furthest up that we've been as a United team over the last decade. But still, there was something missing. The aura, the ethos around the club was not aligned. United wasn't feeling like United. You were kind of losing the spirit that was there in the club. And I think bringing back Pogba in hindsight, yes, it makes sense. It made sense as a move. He played at United before. He felt like he understood the vibe, the aura around the club. But the attitude was never there. And Ferguson saw that, and there was a reason why he let him go. Why did we now start to doubt the greatest? It's Sir Alex Ferguson. He knew. That's why he got rid of him. It was not worth keeping him. And then the same with signing these constant bit part strikers. I understand that, honestly, in my opinion, I think give them credit that they went and got Lukaku. I think that was the right profile, right age. He came in and made a great impact initially. And if it wasn't for the fact that he just wasn't there attitude-wise, mentally, physically couldn't keep up with the pressure of it, I don't know what it was, but Lukaku wasn't destined to be that top level. And when you're United, you cannot settle for that middle bracket of player. Like, as much as we love players like Herrera is not right now what we're looking at we're trying to get Frankie de Jong. That's not the same kind of level. Yes, Herrera will fight for things and he's aggressive. He has a lot of positives to his game. His engine, his pressures, his defensive acumen. It's great. But that we need the next level, right? And as United, you want to be at the top. You want to be competing for every trophy. Your midfield before that was Scholes and Carrick. And before that, Keane. You're talking about the best of the best in the world. And now you're telling me let's have a midfield of... the Schmidtfield was in there. Credit to Schweinsteiger, he was a great player in his career, but he's not on that level. Not at that age. Same with Schneiderlin, Fellaini, Herrera, Matic. Matic was a decent signing initially. Pogba never got settled in. There were so many pieces in and out of this team that, like, where are we going? And then comes in the Oleg era. I don't want to touch too much on previous times. I'm already a couple minutes into this video. But what we needed was the complete rock bottom, which you got with Ranić, which honestly, I'm happy that happened, in a sense. At the time, I was extremely sad, and it was one of the most depressing times being a United fan because you felt like you couldn't win any game you went into. There was no confidence. There was no enjoyment because even when you did win, it was not in a pretty fashion. It was not done well, and it was mostly down to individual quality or luck. And then on top of that, You had the fact that you know this is not sustainable. You know you're not going to win the next game. Or you know you might get thumped the next game. It was a horrible feeling, but what it did is hit us to rock bottom, pointed out all of the glaringly obvious and big problems at the club. Then in comes United savior, Erik ten Hag. You finally sign an elite level manager with European experience, young, fresh ideas, tactics of the modern era from the right footballing schools, of thought schools, and he's able to implement it. You now realized, hey, all this half in, half out, you got rid of obviously Ed Woodward, which was a huge issue at the club. You didn't let the manager have his own talent, that he sign his own players. That wasn't happening. But it's clear that that's what's happened this year. Signing of Eriksen as a free transfer was an immaculate signing. Of course, Lisandro Martinez has been immense the entire season. Malacia, I think, is a solid option as a backup left back. I think Ten Hag would have seen that, hey, Malacia, that's someone I can use to drive Luke Shaw because he's physical, he's tenacious, his attitude seems brilliant, Malacia. That's someone who's pushed on Luke Shaw because you always see it in Luke Shaw. There seems to be all the right elements to his game. He's physical, he's strong, his press resistance, his ball control, some of his close control and dribbling is some of the best I've ever seen at left back. The way this man moves the ball and how little he gets dispossessed when he's on the move or on the dribble is amazing. And that's from left back. As well as the fact that I've never seen a left winger come and bully him. Not physically, at least. Yes, the pace, sometimes he does get done, but that, of course, there's been injuries that have happened, and you're playing against the fastest players in the world. Of course, you're going to end up getting burnt sometimes, but he still puts up a fight. I think his delivery is improving. His link-up play with the left side channel, which has been a prominent channel for United for years, but he's been playing with different players in front of him. He had a time where he played with Martial in front of him. He had a time where he played with Pogba in front of him. Rashford, of course, being the most consistent. He had a time even with Alexis Sanchez. It must be difficult for him to adjust, as well as the fact that he's had injuries over the years. Now that he's found a consistent run of form, you're seeing him play at an elite level, and for me, probably in the argument for top 3 left backs in the world. And I think it'd be deserved. He's now shown it in 2 different periods, in the 6 months with Ole, and then now over the 7-8 months with Erik ten Hag. Now you're trying to see him develop into the player that we thought he was going to be. And you have to remember, he's only 27. It makes sense. That was the progression. We signed him as like an 18, 19-year-old, and the progression was eventually when he gets to his prime, he'll be a great left back. And that's what he's proving to be right now. Same with Rashford. Everybody got down on him, and yes, I understand that. And it made sense at the time. Yes, Rashford was not performing well. He scored 5 goals all season last year. That's horrendous for someone who's supposed to be coming towards his peak years. But you needed the right manager. You needed the right system. You needed to play in a way that benefited Rashford. Rashford's not the most dynamic, flexible player that you can put into any system and it works. That's not what Rashford is. Rashford has specific skill sets that make him elite. And I'm using that word very specifically, elite. Because one thing that I've always put so much value on is someone who's able to do something that other people can't. Someone who can create something or do something on a football pitch that others just can't. The way someone like De Bruyne moves and whips the ball, you just don't have others that can do it. And that was always that's the thing right now with Mbappe, with Rashford. They have certain traits and characteristics of the way they play that make them, but no one can emulate that. No one can replicate what they do. And that's why I think having someone like Bruno with him is amazing, because you're playing to their strengths. And I love the move right now with moving Bruno out right, giving him more space, more ability to find those incision passes. He's had another game now with 9 key passes. He was already leading the league with the most in a single match, and now he's done it again. He's matched his record. And Bruno, the way he creates is pure number, pure sheer quantity. Just throw 25 in there, and hopefully 5 of them connect. But those 5 are usually gilt at chances that should go in, 100 million % should go in. And that's what you want as an attacker. You want those balls to come in. Yes, there might be some frustrating moments, but once you adapt to that and you understand that that's how he's going to play, you know you're going to get chances. There's not going to be a game that goes by where Bruno's not creating something. As long as you're providing him, giving him the ball, giving him the right space, putting the right players around him, he's going to create. And that's why I think in the summer, United have to be looking at a striker. You have options. You can go young and experienced in Sesko. Wouldn't be where I would go, not with the age profile of the team. Most of the United team right now, if you're looking at the key figures, Luke Shaw's at 27, Varane's at 29, Casemiro's at 30, Bruno's at 28, Eriksen at 31, Rashford at 25. Who else? Jaden is still young. Anthony's young. Dallow's still young, but 23. Martinez, of course, is 25, and De Gea is 32. With those age profiles, you need to try and put in the players that are going to win now. I'm not saying forget about the future and don't worry. No, I'm saying maybe do a combination, right? Maybe sign someone like Harry Kane this summer. If you can, and if he's available, just go sign him. It's guaranteed goal scorer. Someone who's been in the Premier League and is probably going to break the Premier League goal record. And if he does it at United, that would be great as well for the club. If you want to talk about it on the business end as well, that's something you can definitely market, rep, and sell the images for and everything. And that would be something that would be great historically as well for the club. Because United are a team that's always chased records, always chased being in the history books. So when you open up those stats on history, on profiles, on how many trophies won, who has the most Ballon d'Or winners, who has the most Champions League, who has the most... United wants to be there. United wants to... You constantly see that team. And that's how United become the marketing and branding conglomerate that they are. They are able to generate such a recognition with their brand of winning and awards and prestige. And that's what they want. The way that Madrid have been able to cultivate that over years. Madrid obviously had a head start over everyone with the way the European success initiated. But then again, Madrid are the biggest club in the world. And that's not up for debate. But United want to be that kind of brand. They want to be identified and aligned with success like that. I think the only way to do it is to actually be successful. The last decade that United have had could be part of the story, but also could be the downfall. Now you start to see a long stretch of time in history that United don't achieve anything. And you don't want to happen what happened to Liverpool, which people almost forgot until really like the last year or two of the Klopp era that, hey, Liverpool were huge. Still are huge, don't get me wrong. Liverpool are Liverpool. They're almost the same as United, if not up there right alongside them. Also a top 5 club in history and everything, all of that great stuff. All the things I say about United you can associate with Liverpool as well. But what Liverpool had is you lose that recency bias that is in the head, right? Which is, I haven't seen them in the history books for 30 years. You start to forget. You start to be like, okay, that's a different era. That's not the club anymore. That doesn't exist anymore. Everton are one of the greatest clubs in the Premier League, in football, English football. But there, you don't see them on the history books no more. So you don't think about them. And that's the same thing that could have happened to United. If United over the next 30 years win 2 Premier League trophies and 1 or 2 FA Cups, that's not good enough. I don't think that will happen. I think United are a club that's set up with a fan base and a ethos around the club that's already strong enough that it is associated with success, and the fans will demand nothing less than success. The reason why there's been so much chopping and changing is because mediocrity is not okay. We as a club would not allow. All credit to the Arsenal project. It looks like it's working out, and I think they will win the league this year. And if they do, hey, they're finishing 8 back-to-back years and finishing outside the top 4 and choking the top 4 run and doing it against your bitter rival. That's not in United's DNA. You see that one season with a 7th place, you're out. You see that one place where you're outside, you're out. Everything has to keep moving. You cannot sustain mediocrity. It becomes a curse within a club. Within anything you put mediocrity in, it becomes a curse. And it becomes a sign of weakness, especially when you want to be elite. And with a world-class institution like United, it has to be more than that. You have to look at how do you sustain the highest level performance year after year. And right now, your crosstown neighbors are doing that in Man City. Man City are achieving that. Yes, right now there's a huge case going on, and if they are found guilty, then erase everything that I'm saying, because that's disgusting and doesn't deserve to have a place in football, and I think it will besmirk a lot of other organizations that are trying to do it properly. Certain organization, I don't know exactly, of course, the background of everything, the nuances of things, you never really know. But for a team like Newcastle right now, it seems like they're trying to do everything legitimately, properly, and over a long period of time. They're investing into a project. and it seems from right intentions. Yes, all of these things, of course, have sport washing in them and everything, and it's not something that I want to encourage or condone. But at the same time, I'm not going to be the judge of that. I'm talking about the football side, and that's about it. I don't want to delve into any more political side of it. I don't want to have any divisive opinions on it. All I'm going to say is the way Man City have conducted on paper right now, it's been perfect. You build a training academy, you keep expanding the stadium, you improve the city around you, you invest into youth academies, you invest into a player profile and right coaches, the right fitness staff, the right physios, the right cooks, the right everything within a club. Man City have been doing everything right. And now United, you've kind of stagnated and gotten stuck behind your rivals, right? And to really recapture that, you have to start building the club in the image of one man who understands what it is to be elite and has an understanding and a philosophy that I know what I want to implement, give me the resource to implement it, and I'll make it happen. And that's what the kind of energy and the aura around Ten Hag right now is, the idea that everyone just trusts him. Everyone thinks and knows what he's doing. And that's not because, hey, we want to have this false narrative and we just want to live blindly in ignorance about it. No, it's because we've seen the challenges that he's been presented with, and he's dealt with all of them immaculately. There's been nothing that he's done wrong. The Ronaldo debacle and how he dealt with that, his captaincy and how he seamlessly dropped him to the bench to bring in his own guy, even though there were so many flaws around him initially. He's going to be an elite centre-back. I love him. I love Lisandro Martinez. He's a potential future United leader or captain, even. That's the kind of profile he is. That's the kind of personality you can tell that he is. He's a leader. He says the right things. He conducts himself the way he raises everyone else around him. The way just from the beginning of the season, even small things, you don't see it as much anymore because now it's understood. But initially, he had to explicitly show stuff. So like banging on the chest of Dalot, hyping up, yelling at his teammates, all that kind of stuff brings up the energy and it makes the others rise to the occasion. Because that's one thing that's always kind of been the lack there in the United defense. It's that fire. It's that character, that show of will, the determination. You don't see it. It's very defeatist kind of mentality, lack of leadership there. And that's why I was always surprising that Maguire got the captaincy. Yes, it's because he was English, he's a centre back, he's a big signing, all of that, right? But he never showed any qualities that told me that's the leader that's gonna revolutionize the back four and gonna lift everyone and make sure everyone's playing at their top performance and hold people accountable. The combination of experience and Varane, the Casemiro effect has been huge. I haven't even spoken about him in this video, and he's easily the most important player, and it showed that why he's the best holding midfielder in the world and of his generation. He's elite. The way he facilitates the play, the way he defends, his understanding and control of space, his leadership, the pure instinct, the instinct around the game. That's something that can't be underestimated. Is just that feel that a player has of where to be at the right time, when to do the right things. I know I'm saying this after he's literally finishing his suspension for choking a guy, but I do think, yes, it's a red card, but it was one of those that's like, I kind of understand, I kind of like it in the team. Maybe don't choke someone out though, especially not Will Hughes, like, who? But anyway, about Casemiro, those are all the great traits and characteristics that he has in his game. Yes, there's a occasional sending off or red card or suspension, but that's when you really realize how important he is and how we do need to start developing the Casemiro replacement. It's a shame we couldn't have had Casemiro from the age 26, 27. That would have been beautiful. But he is 30, which means realistically he can still give you 3-4 great seasons because he isn't reliant on bursts of pace or his athleticism as much. He's, of course, still relies on it, the physicality, the ability to move side to side. All these things do get hindered, and the idea that, just because a player doesn't rely on pace, that means if he starts to get older, he will still stay good. That's not true, because you have to adapt your game. You have to adjust the way you play. You're also much more prone to getting little niggles and injuries from physical challenges, and that's why we're going to see how he adapts. But at bare minimum, he should give us 1 or 2 more seasons at this level of performance. And with that being said, you need to capitalize on this kind of player profile. This is a special level of player. And when you have players, certain right pieces in there, right, you're missing, I would say, 2 to 4 players to become basically the best team in Europe. 2 to 4 players. You can start to challenge at that level. You need a world-class striker. As much as I love Eriksen and I like the signing of Sabitzer, Fred adds a little bit of tenacity, some defensive, let's say, nuisance factor, but you need a world-class number 8. You need someone who's, honestly, someone like a De Jong, someone like a Pedri, someone who can be a driving force from midfield, someone who can create, someone who can play make from deep, someone who can anchor the entire midfield, someone who can let Casemiro maybe move out the way and start to control it in a 6 and spray pass it like that, someone with a range of passing, someone with a great understanding of tempo of football. That's something very important. And Ten Hag, you can see, is trying to find that right balance with that midfield. And I think of course, that's the reason why he wanted De Jong so badly in the summer. I don't think it was, De Jong, suddenly, no, I think it's more of a Casemiro became available, and it's a no-brainer you're signing Casemiro. In hindsight, imagine someone told you, told any of the clubs right now in Europe, you could have had Casemiro for 60. Who's not taking that? Even top of the league, Arsenal, would have taken that. I'm sorry, but Partey is not Casemiro. It's far from it. It's as far as him and Scott McTominay. I'm sorry, but Casemiro is, you're talking about, he's an all-time player. That's the level he's at. So I think any club in the world would have taken him, and I think Madrid, for once, actually might have made a mistake. And I think they're going to live to regret it this year. I don't think they win the Champions League. It's Madrid, so you never know. They're most likely not winning the league. It would take a huge, huge fumble from Barcelona. So Madrid are even on the side of, we might have let him go a season or 2 early. It might have been too early to start having Tchouameni as our main guy, or trying to balance Kroos and Modric at that age. Don't get me wrong, those 2 are the greatest midfielders of all time, but they're getting up there. And having the unrest and these injuries with Camavinga, Valverde playing wide a lot of time, it's just not finding that right balance. As a Madrid fan, I doubt you'd want to see Ceballos as often as you do. Honestly, you never want to see him. That's kind of the point. I understand that he's has some okay performance here and there. He's just not that level. But going back to United, you have certain pieces there. You get that world-class striker. You get that world-class number 8. Yes, I'm not asking for small signings, but those are realistic, attainable signings that it's much easier to find that world-class player than it is to, let's do what Brighton do and go find Caicedo from Ecuador. That's much more difficult. What you have to do is look at the best players in the world, identify who fits your system best, negotiate that with Ten Hag, find the short list, 3 to 6 names, and you start working down that list. You start getting who you want. And if United have Champions League football, you're promising great wages because you're in the Super League, aka the Premier League. You're in a team that's rising. You could have finished in the top 3 and been in a title race and shown that you only need a piece or 2. You have a great manager, a great squad around you. You can tell that there's some good personalities in there. There are players that really want to win. That's an attractive proposition to an opposing player. And you can guarantee them minutes. That's huge. For a world-class striker, world-class midfielder, you need that guarantee of minutes. But that's the difference. If you're thinking between City and United, De Bruyne is not guaranteed minutes right now. So where would you rather play? Would I rather play at United where I'm guaranteed minutes every week in, week out, or City where it seems like even if I'm the best player in the world, I don't have a guaranteed place? And yes, the idea is it's healthy for competition and all this, and people using different systems, but as a player, you're thinking selfishly. You're like, how am I going to make the most money, play the most amount of football, and how am I going to win things? Right? Those are the things. Money, if money's there, money's there. That's going to be the most important in most of these players' decisions. 2, it's, am I going to play? I don't think anyone wants to go and make the move of, I'm going to move to a club and with the ambition of not playing. Then 3 is, am I going to win things? Yes, you'd love if the winning things was the most important thing for all players, but that's just not realistic, right? Think about it, you personally. Yeah, winning things is great. Getting a nice shiny trophy at the end of the day is great. But as an individual, you want to do what's best for you and your family and people around you. Most of these players didn't come from a lot of money, so it is important for them. And I understand that, But United are able to match all of those things and now look like they have the winning DNA coming back into the club. That's why if you go back in for Frankie de Jong, you go back in for, especially if you beat Barcelona right now, this is such an important game because just those little mental things I'm sure makes a big difference in players' minds. You're seeing that, hey, my team is supposed to be on top right now, but we've kind of hedged everything on this year because you've leveraged all the future money to get money for this season. You kind of see a progression line that's kind of going to plateau or start to drop off, especially with some of the ages and some of the players in the squad, which means now maybe the United proposition looks more attractive, especially since they've now already beaten you and they're looking on the rise. And if you go win a couple of trophies this year, maybe you win the League Cup and you win a Europa League, or you go win a FA Cup, I think that's something that's interesting to any player and any proposition. I don't want to go on too long about other signings. More so, let me just quickly talk about some of the players in the team. I talked about Bruno, immense. I think he's someone that initially I asked the question to myself, is he someone that can be a world-class playmaker for a Champions League winning team? Can he be that number 10 in the Champions League winning team? And I've started to change my mind where I think he can be. I'd love to ask, let me know, what do you think? Can he be that level? Casemiro, of course, is class. There's no need to talk about it. I think Luke Shaw is as good as a left back as you're really going to get right now, unless you find some kind of next gem. But I don't think that's a position you need to worry about, especially with having a backup already. Lisandro Martinez is elite. I think Dalo and Wan-Bissaka is honestly proving to be much more suitable right back situation than we initially thought. You have Wan-Bissaka when you need those 1v1 duels, probably big Champions League games against Mbappe, against Vinicius. You're going to need a player like Wan-Bissaka to be able to win those 1v1 duels. He's proven it already, time and time again. He doesn't have as much going forward, so in the games where you're going to play on the transition, he might be your option. You are still going to have certain things that you're going to have to train in him. The way the fullbacks don't join in the press often enough, which is a little bit worrisome. But I understand it from Ten Hag's perspective because he doesn't think he has the rest of the player profile and talent to be able to compete at that level, to impose his play style every single game, especially in the big ones where he's gone into more of a you playing on the transitions, and it's worked. And having that adaptability in your system is so important. Of course, Harry Maguire, probably time to sell. Sabitzer, we need to give him time to be able to assess whether that's someone you want to make permanent, but regardless, you need a number 8 in the summer. Rashford, nothing needs to be said. Everyone is saying everything about him right now. Eriksen, you definitely want to keep around in the squad. That's someone who has great delivery, great ball striking. Is someone you want in a squad. Aaron Wan-Bissaka I've talked about. De Gea, you might need to move on. And another keeper, that was one of the 4 positions I'm talking about where you need someone. You need someone who's going to have the distribution for Ten Hag's system long term. For now, it's not the first priority, but it's definitely on there. I think Fred is a solid player to have in and around the midfield. He gives you energy. He has a tactical use in a lot of games, which is important. Rafael Varane, you're definitely keeping. Anthony, I think give him time, and he's a great player in a possession-style team. I think especially in games where you're going to have the ball or where you need to break a team's pressure on you, he's someone that's amazing to do that with because he's, in terms of possession, he's great. His ball retention is great. Wood Weghorst, it's a stopgap. Hopefully you get that world-class strike in the summer. I think Martial has to be moved on. Sancho, you still give him time. You keep working. Victor Lindelof, I think it's time to move him on. Yes, there can be use in him, but I don't see someone that's not the Champions League level of third choice right as centre back. That's just not it. Neither him or Maguire is that guy. Tyler Malacia, I'm definitely keeping. Scott McTominay needs to move on. Elanga can be there, but I don't see the value in just having a stockpile of wingers that don't provide much added value. They don't give you any alternatives. What does Elanga do that other wingers already in and around the squad can't do? I don't know. Garnacho, you're definitely, of course, keeping and integrating him as much as possible. Facundo Pellistri might be time to move him on. I think give him a chance or two for the rest of the season and assess. But I think it might be time. Definitely give him that FA Cup game against West Ham. Home game, definitely. Kobe Mainoo, it's very early. Van de Beek, gotta move on at this point. I think I'd love to see some more performances and chances given to players like Zidane Iqbal, maybe Charlie McNeil, seeing if he can be a replacement striker. Those are backup, the second, third choice, someone that's solid like that, right? I think these are definitely positive moves for United. There's a lot of positive direction. Everything around the club right now is in a good state. just looking forward to a couple games. You have Newcastle in the League Cup final, where there's no Bruno Guimaraes, there's no Nick Pope. This is huge. United can win their first trophy in 6 years. I was graduating high school last time they won a trophy, and now we're 6 years later and they still haven't won a trophy. It is what it is. So hopefully that happens. You have Barcelona in the second leg at Old Trafford. I think it's going to be bouncing. There's going to be so much positive momentum going into that game, especially that there isn't a break. From that Leicester performance in the second half, the next time United are on the pitch is against Barcelona. I think it's going to be huge when it's that way, because I think the momentum and everything going is in the right direction, and I think Barcelona are going to be scared. It's going to be interesting how Barcelona adjusts to the fact that Rashford cooked Marcos Alonso every time in transition. I think they can't do the same thing, but they're also limited because they don't have that right back option. And then without having Pedri or Gavi, they're going to be less penetrative going forward. They're going to have less creation. I think this is all lined up for United in a positive way. I think the fact that we have a fully fit squad going into that game is going to be huge. It's going to be huge. And I'm excited. As a United fan, I'm excited. I think we progress in the Europa League, and I think we win the League Cup final. I think we go 3 for 3 this week. And that would be an amazing way to go into the next stage of the season, because I do feel like it's in phases. I think the first phase finished before the World Cup. It's just that startup, warm-up phase, getting everyone into the paces, understanding how the manager wants to play. Then you have the second phase of consolidating and really seeing the progression and the levels that you're going to be at, progressing as far as you can in certain competitions. And then you enter the third phase, which is now it's time to win. That third phase is going to be kicked off with the League Cup final. If you're going into that third phase with a League Cup final win, you progress in the Europa League against Barcelona, probably the toughest team left in the competition. You progress in the FA Cup. All these things are going to start to now build serious momentum for the end of the season. If United are in all those competitions, fighting on all four fronts, the only team still to be doing that, fighting on all four fronts, I don't think we win the league. Regardless whether we're fighting all four fronts or we're not, I don't think we win the league regardless. But this is definitely a good situation for United to be in. A trophy or two, a comfortable top four finish, which is looking very likely right now. I think this is a good time to be a United fan, and it's exciting, and hopefully a great summer with new owners. I don't know who it's going to be, whether it's Sir Jim Ratcliffe or if it's Qatari Investment. Whoever it is, I'm excited. I think they both have lined up exciting plans for United going forward. I think the beauty is wipe out that debt at the club, and this club is self-sustaining. You can invest however much you want to see faster success, but that club will be successful as long as you wipe the debt, make the club self-sustaining, and this club will succeed. You will win things. You gotta believe in the manager. You gotta hire the right people around them. At this point, reinvest into either fixing up Old Trafford or a new stadium. I would prefer if it was Old Trafford and just redone, because of everything around the club. These things mean things to fans. Staying in your stadium, there's a heritage, there's a history, there's a feel around it, and it's important to maintain that, no matter who the new ownership is. I think improving training grounds, facilities, some of the cooking. I was gonna talk about the cooks. I did my Ronaldo moment right there. Keep the cooks. Keep the cooks. Just improve the facilities. Get the top level physios, top level medical staff, top level scouts. Everything has to be at the highest elite level. The whole club has to operate on that level. But keep the cooks. Anyway, this is a random video that's just gonna be in there right now with the United thing. I just wanted to talk about it. I'm feeling good about the club. It's my first video back from the Barcelona game, so I just wanted to make this video. I will be back to making the 3 Key Men series, the Snapshot series. Once there's another big game coming up, we'll probably do it after both the Europa League and the League Cup. There'll probably be snapshots. I do want to do a review of the Champions League. I haven't really gotten into the Champions League content yet. Was away, now I'm back. I want to do the Champions League content and see how that is. So yeah, let me know if there's anything else you want me to add. Comment below, like, subscribe. I'll see you guys on the next episode. Bye-bye.